The Empire had conquered 17,000 star systems across 3 galaxies. Their warships numbered in the millions. Their soldiers had crushed every species that dared to stand against them. For 12,000 years, no civilization had refused their demands and survived to tell the story. They believed themselves to be gods among lesser beings. When their scouts discovered Earth in the outer rim of the Milky Way, they saw nothing impressive. A small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star. The species living there had barely mastered space travel. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were primitive. Their military forces were laughably small compared to the great fleets of the Empire. High Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, as it emerged from hyperspace above Earth. Behind him, 3,000 warships darkened the sky. Each vessel was larger than any city on the planet below. Each carried enough firepower to crack a world in half. Smiled as he looked at the blue marble floating in the void. This would be easy. Another quick conquest. Another species added to the long list of slaves serving the Empire. He ordered his communication officers to broadcast on all frequencies. The message was simple: surrender immediately, hand over all resources, submit to rule. Any resistance would result in the complete destruction of their civilization. They had 6 hours to accept these terms. On Earth, the message caused panic. Governments scrambled to respond. Military leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Scientists analyzed the alien fleet and delivered devastating news. The technology gap was massive. Earth's combined military forces could not scratch the paint on even one of those massive warships. The United Nations held an emergency session. Many leaders argued for surrender. What choice did they have? Fighting meant death for everyone. At least as slaves, humanity would survive. Better to live on their knees than die standing. But something strange happened during that meeting. A woman walked into the chamber uninvited. She wore a simple black uniform with no markings or insignia. Her hair was silver despite her young face. Her eyes held a darkness that made even the bravest generals look away. She introduced herself as Admiral of the Black Armada. Nobody in that room had ever heard of the Black Armada. There was no record of such a force in any military database. No government had authorized its creation. No budget had funded its construction. Yet Admiral spoke with absolute confidence as she addressed the world's leaders. She told them that humanity had a choice. They could surrender and become slaves, or they could fight and let the galaxy learn what happened to those who threatened Earth. The Secretary General asked the obvious question: fight with what? Earth had no weapons capable of harming the alien fleet. Admiral smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who knew secrets that would terrify the universe itself. She explained that the Black Armada had existed for over 200 years. It was built in secret, hidden in the dark spaces between stars where no telescope could see. Its ships were constructed using technology that humanity had never revealed to anyone. While Earth publicly developed its slow and primitive vessels, the Black Armada grew in the shadows. Why hide such power? Because humanity had learned an important lesson from studying the stars. The universe was dangerous. Predators lurked everywhere. And the best way to survive among predators was to appear weak until the moment you struck. Earth had been playing weak for 2 centuries, watching, learning, preparing. The world leaders looked at each other in disbelief. How was this possible? Who had authorized this secret fleet? Who had paid for it? Admiral told them that some questions were better left unanswered. All they needed to know was that the Black Armada was ready. Humanity did not have to kneel. The vote was close, but in the end humanity chose to fight. The response was sent to the fleet. Earth refused to surrender. High Commander laughed when he received the message. These primitive creatures were brave but foolish. He ordered his fleet to advance. The destruction of Earth would serve as an example to other species who might consider resistance. The fleet moved toward the planet in perfect formation, thousands of warships blocking out the stars, their weapons charged with enough power to burn continents, their crews eager to add another conquest to their long history of victories. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Rifts appeared all around the fleet, not just a few rifts, hundreds of them, thousands of them. From each rift emerged ships painted in colors darker than the void itself. They absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Their hulls seemed to drink in the very essence of space. The Black Armada had arrived. Stared at his sensors in disbelief. Over 8,000 warships surrounded his fleet. Each one was massive. Each one radiated energy signatures that his computers could barely comprehend. And they had appeared from nowhere, using technology his empire had never encountered. Admiral broadcast her own message to the fleet. Her voice was calm and cold. She told them that Earth was not a prey species. Humanity had never been prey. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to show their true nature. This was that moment. She offered the choice: withdraw now and never return, or stay and learn why humanity had hidden in the shadows for so long. Was a proud commander. He had never retreated in his entire career. He ordered his fleet to attack. 3,000 warships opened fire on the Black Armada. The battle lasted less than 2 hours. The weapons, which could destroy planets, barely scratched the armor of the Black Armada ships. Their shields, which had stopped every weapon in the galaxy, crumbled under human firepower. Their engines, which could outrun any pursuer, proved slower than the dark vessels hunting them. Ship after ship exploded. Debris filled the space around Earth. The proud fleet that had conquered thousands of worlds burned like paper in a furnace. Watched in horror as his flagship took hit after hit. His crews screamed as sections of the vessel tore away. Fire consumed the corridors. The bridge itself began to crack. In the end, only his escape pod survived. He floated in the wreckage of his fleet, surrounded by the corpses of 3,000 warships. The Black Armada had not lost a single vessel. Admiral allowed his pod to drift. She wanted him to survive. She wanted him to return to his empire. She wanted him to deliver a message. The message was simple: Earth was not alone. Humanity was not weak. And if the Empire ever looked toward the Milky Way again, the Black Armada would come for them, not just to defend, to destroy, completely. Fled through hyperspace, with tears of shame and terror in his eyes. News of the defeat spread through the Empire like wildfire. An entire invasion fleet destroyed by a species they had never heard of. Technology that their understanding. Weapons that made their proudest achievements look like toys. The Emperor demanded answers. How had this happened? Where had these humans come from? What other secrets were they hiding? No one could tell him. The Empire's intelligence networks knew nothing about the Black Armada. Their spies had found no evidence of its existence. It was as if humanity had created an unstoppable military force out of thin air. But the disaster had only begun. Admiral had no intention of letting the regroup. The Black Armada did not wait for another invasion. It went hunting. Outposts on the edge of their territory started going dark. Colony worlds sent desperate distress calls that ended in silence. Supply convoys vanished without trace. Military bases found themselves under attack by ghost ships that appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. The Empire tried to respond. They sent their greatest fleets to track down the attackers. Those fleets never returned. Month after month, the Black Armada pushed deeper into space. They freed enslaved species by the dozens. They destroyed shipyards and weapons factories. They burned military academies and training facilities. The conquered peoples of the Empire began to rise up. Species that had been slaves for centuries suddenly found hope. If these humans could defeat then maybe the Empire could fall. Rebellions erupted on hundreds of worlds. The Emperor sent ambassadors to Earth, begging for peace. Admiral received them on the bridge of her flagship, which now orbited what had once been the military headquarters. She told them that peace was possible, but not the peace they wanted. The Empire would release all slaves. It would surrender all conquered territories. It would pay reparations to every species it had harmed. Its military would be reduced to a defensive force only. The ambassadors protested. These terms would end the empire. It would collapse within a decade. Admiral agreed that it would. That was the point. She explained that humanity had watched the galaxy for a long time. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had seen species enslaved and exterminated. They had seen the strong prey upon the weak without consequence. The Black Armada existed to change that equation, to show predator species that there were consequences, to prove that the darkness between stars held something far more dangerous than their enemies had ever imagined. The Empire accepted the terms. They had no choice. Within 5 years, the empire that had ruled for 12,000 years was gone. Its former slaves built new nations. Its former soldiers found different purposes. Its former glory became a warning in history books. Admiral stood on the observation deck of Earth Station 1, looking out at the stars. The Black Armada had returned to the shadows. Its ships were hidden once again in the spaces between galaxies. Its crews were waiting for the next threat. A young officer approached her with a report. Another species had been detected on the far side of the Milky Way. They were building a fleet. They were conquering their neighbors. They were becoming a threat. Admiral read the report carefully. She handed it back with simple instructions. Watch them, wait, and when the time came, remind them why the galaxy had learned to fear the dark. The Black Armada would always be ready. Humanity had shown its true face to the universe, and the universe would never forget what happened to those who demanded Earth's surrender. The stars burned brighter that night, or perhaps they were just trembling.